Morning.
Good morning. Happy Monday.
Happy
Good
Monday,
afternoon for
right?
me. Yeah.
How's everyone doing?
So welcome everyone to the Turning Point. We have a special guest today. Ray, how are you doing today, man? All good. And also Versan is here. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing well. Well rested over here, Edo. So thanks for having me, and great to be on the show. I'm a huge fan of you, and of course Versan. Uh, thank you guys for having me on.
Absolutely. Ray's a dear friend and honored guest today. Ray and I, we've had so many discussions on the phone. And I got to tell you, man, this guy's got a lot of insight. He's provided so much value to this space. And I don't think he gets enough credit.
Oh boy, I appreciate it. I always feel the love and good vibes from you, Versan, and not only have we had the pleasure of speaking on the phone, but also in person at the Quantum Summit, and I believe another event in Florida. But we're
Yeah.
getting at it. We've had the pleasure of brushing elbows and spending quality time breaking bread. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I mean, there's a lot to talk about. So Ray's gonna certainly put his input on these topics, but I think, guys, whoever watched the BRICS, you saw what happened there. I mean, it's crazy, right? The world is no doubt going through so many profound shifts. I mean, one that is like reshaping the people, the geopolitical and economic landscape, and a new order is certainly emerging from the East. You got countries like Saudi Arabia, South Africa, Russia, and China, and their allies that are leading the BRICS bloc to challenge the Western dominance in the Western financial system. So I think over 100 countries right now, if I'm not mistaken, have already expressed, right, their interest.
They're getting close to, I want to say, 150, or at least they're aiming for that. With especially, I believe the CCP is working on their, was it the not the Silk Road, but the Belt Road Initiative. So
Yeah.
connecting those countries around, not just on land by road and train, but also on water and digitally. So there's a whole initiative going on, and I
Yeah.
think there's like you said, a de-dollarization movement.
I mean, the whole, just the global balance of power is like evolving and shifting towards the East. You have a new monetary system on the rise, one that aims to really compete and ultimately replace the Western financial order. And I think that's really going to usher in this multipolar world economy. If you look at the United States, you know, the West and the European nations were grappling with significant economic challenges. The West used to be the hegemony of the world, the leader of the world, but that's no longer. I mean, under our own mismanagement of our government and our financial institutions, you got high inflation, rising debt, political instability. And these are symptoms to some of the deeper issues that the financial system is currently not working anymore for anybody. And it's not fit for like purpose in a rapidly changing world. So then you have the Securities Exchange Commission. So we'll just go into all this piece by piece, but I do want to play a clip, guys, if that's okay, just so people can get an idea. President Putin was asked about the SWIFT, if there was an alternative to SWIFT, and he said no. I'm going to let you hear from him, but this is why I brought these documents here. There are a lot of newbies that are still in this space who don't really understand that in 2022, Ripple hired the former SWIFT board member banking executives. And of course, they hired some other people to help kind of integrate Ripple's technology into SWIFT. And this is old news, but let's play this clip real quick. Just I want everyone to hear this.
Anton Bernitsky, Channel 1. More on the financial interaction of BRICS countries. Was a common investment platform and the creation of an alternative payment system discussed? Was there talk of an alternative to SWIFT? Thank you.
As for SWIFT and some alternatives, we have not created and are not creating any alternatives for anyone. Nevertheless, the issue is very important today. One of the key problems is the issue of settlements. Therefore, we are moving towards the use of national currencies, which is well known. Regarding settlement systems, we are using the already established Russian Financial Information Exchange System, created by the Central Bank of Russia. Other BRICS member countries also have their own systems, and we will use them as well, and are already using them. We will develop this cooperation. However, we are not inventing any separate common system yet. What we have is generally sufficient. It is only necessary to make timely and appropriate decisions at the administrative level. We discussed this with colleagues and will continue on this path. Let's move on. Let's take this sector. The second row, please. Introduce yourself.
So, you know, that was a very powerful clip for me. And I have a few more that we're going to share throughout the whole podcast, but the devil's in the detail. They did not create an alternative to Swift, but then you have Swift adopting the technology. That's public. That's all out there. And if you look at these BRICS nation countries, they have their own payment protocols already in place that are, again, interoperable with Ripple's technology. So interoperability certainly is a key word. And that's why the IMF continuously uses this term. So, guys, what are your thoughts on this? And, you know, I just want to get some insights from you guys.
Well, if you don't mind, Edu, let me just chime in real quick before you take the mic. I 100% agree with you, Versan. This whole world is moving digital. It's being underpinned by protocols, APIs, and it is going modern, you can say. So I believe Ripple is at the heart of this. There's other entities or players that are either leveraging their tech or, you know, building something comparable. And so, but at the end of the day, that's just where this is pointing towards. With the BRICS, they have what Project Enbridge, which I believe even watching some of your content, you're trying to paint or build a bridge for the audience to better understand the similarities between Enbridge and potentially the XRPL or what Ripple's building themselves. So I'm familiar of let's just say even a platform called Modern Treasury, which I believe is another platform that's providing APIs and support for tech-enabled companies to have faster payments and smarter workflows and real-time visibility. And so I think this is just where the world's going.
Spot on. Edo, let's get your take.
Yeah, special thanks for you, Jay. Hopefully we're going to have you once again on the turning point. And yeah, we want to hear a lot from you today. So from my perspective, you know, I have changed my mind because in the past, I really used it to think that Swift was going to disappear. For me, the end game was always like, I don't think Swift is going to be around for 5 years from now, you know. And then I just started to do more research and I understood more about interoperability. And nowadays I stand with the opinion that Swift is going to integrate Ripple's technology and leverage the XRP ledger for transactions. And that comes actually, it's a video from a former Swift employee. He worked, I think, over 25 years for Swift. I'm not sure if you guys have watched his thoughts, and he was explaining how Swift has already conducted tests on the XRP ledger and how all of these platforms, they're going to be interoperable. In other words, and I have mentioned many times in the presentations for bankers, they are not telling us that there will be only one blockchain. In other words, it's not going to be only the XRP ledger, even though I think XRP is going to be number one rail for payments, but we're going to have multiple systems that are going to interact with each other. I don't think there's going to be 100 blockchains, but it's going to be a handful, perhaps 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't have the concrete answer, but what I know for sure is that all of these systems, they're going to find ways to operate with each other. So it's called interoperability. And some examples of that are the XRP ledger, XDC. It's a massive one. We can talk about Stellar blockchain for micropayments. Algorand's also going to work with CBDCs. So there will be multiple platforms, and Swift has only one choice, is to actually embrace the technology or cease its existence. I don't think it will disappear, but we're going to see in the future how it's going to play out.
Yeah, to that also, I believe Swift is not only, you know, working with companies like Ripple. I try to put an article in the comments for your audience even to read. I'll put it in the private chat because it looks like I'm having some difficulties. But what I'm putting into the chat for hopefully Bersan to share is even Swift articulating how they're working with Chainlink to use their Oracle to basically bring data that's already in the Web 2 to onto Web 3. So I think there's going to be multiple ways as we move into this interoperable multi-chain universe or ecosystem that there's going to be multiple pathways of bringing data on chain. And so to your point, Edo, I think you're right. They're not only working with the Stellars, the Ripples, but the chain links of the world as well, the Oracles that can bring that off-chain data into the Web3 landscape. Yep.
Yeah. And there's another significant factor of President Xi, China. It's very challenging to actually get information from China. I've tried. So what I did is I actually went in 2022, I went to the New Development Bank and looked into what they were doing and some of their documents, right? They kept talking about strengthening international financial cooperation. So what I started doing is digging deeper into the institutions that were working with the New Development Bank, over $36 billion of foreign investment that recently took place, like a year ago or two. And I kept finding the institutions working with the New Development Bank were directly linked to Ripple.
I was hoping you brought this up because that's what I was looking into even over the weekend, was the relationship, trying to find a relationship between Ripple and the new bank, basically the BRICS, formerly known as the BRICS Bank or BRICS. Regardless, it's their financial institution, and so to think, I love. Keep going, Bersan. I've been waiting for this.
No, please. It's just, I'm telling you, the audience here, it's just that this is accelerating. It's really accelerating. And, what we do on the Turning Point, even Black Swan Capitalists, is we try so hard to, like you said, bridge these things too, right? Just to give people a better grip on to understand how these things are playing out in real time. So it's not just digital assets, right? It's the economy too, and the geopolitical landscape. And it's just crazy. Everything's accelerating. Oh, I see a very interesting comment here. R3 is certainly involved to a degree. I found out with the central bank digital currencies and interoperability between those technologies too. So yeah, it's just accelerating. And I think, once all of this comes into play, it will really play out in real time when Trump gets in office. And that's an interesting notion here, is that Trump has technically already won.
I'll say, is he already in office?
No, but listen, I know it's crazy. I don't want to get too deep down the rabbit hole with the whole Trump thing right now. But the thing is, when Trump takes office, technically he won. All right. Unless they try to rig this thing, which they probably will.
Which election are we talking about?
We're talking about Trump, right?
I know. Well, the 2020 election or the 24, because I'm pretty sure he won that one too. Yeah.
So whenever he takes office, first thing they said was they were going to fire Gary Gensler. So I thought that was kind of funny. Yeah.
I did happen to have an opportunity to interview a gentleman on my channel a few months back. He mentioned that there might not be a pathway for Trump to actually fire Gary Gensler, being the chairman of the SEC. What are your thoughts? Does there need to be a legal pathway for Trump to do that, or what?
Previously I told you that if the president really is the supreme power there, if the president wanted to go drone someone in Afghanistan just like that, I think they can remove somebody like Gary Gensler, who is he's just been playing for himself, really. He's strengthening the ties of the banking committee, Senator Warren. This is all tied to the whole ETHgate thing. XRP Unleashed is coming out with a very interesting documentary about this. They'll be covering it all.
Yep. I'm looking forward to actually attending all of those premieres, and I believe Scottsdale's premiere is 7 p.m. on Tuesday the 12th, the 13th. Regardless, though, it's going from the 13th all the way to the 19th, from Scottsdale to Houston to Atlanta, then DC, New York, Boston, and back over to LA to conclude that week-long premiere. So it's going to be a great time, not only getting some new insights on the developments around ETHgate, but also to break bread with many of the XRP community members or those that have been following the progress of this case and the growth of the community, the trajectory of this ecosystem and asset class. And so I just think this is a wonderful time to participate. And for me, I'm going to be sleeping on the airport floors a couple of those nights just so I can make it from one premiere to the next. So, but I'm sure that there's going to be other dedicated, passionate people participating and cheering on in line.
Yeah, I'll be at the Houston premiere. So
Okay,
if anyone's
excellent.
in Houston, Texas, come out there and let's hang out and talk. My brother's here. I think he's gonna say hi. How are you, man? Good. All right. My brother's visiting me from Dallas. So
Oh, really?
say hi, man. Come on. He's
Yeah,
so funny.
He's still on time for the podcast, man.
Exactly. Grab a mic.
Here, come say something, huh?
Hey, you guys, how are you?
Hey, what's
Ray.
going on? Hey, how are you?
Haven't seen you in a while, brother.
It's been a minute.
It has, yeah. Last time was actually in Houston with Jimmy Valley and the guys.
That was at the Houston Racket Club. That felt like a digital Jekyll Island moment.
That's funny, actually. It's good to see you all.
You as well.
I'll definitely catch up with you guys probably in the next one.
Yeah,
Most likely.
just he's
That's
got-
the first time I see the two of you in the same frame.
Yeah.
what a
it's
special
strange, huh?
moment.
It's funny now. People are out there realizing we're two different people.
That's funny.
All right, man.
Yeah, somebody messaged me the other day saying, "Hey, you said this, and that," and I said, "What are you talking about?" Anyway, it happens all the time. But
Two different.
I
two
always
different
thought
people.
one of you was AI generated. Now I can be sure. Actually, it's all good.
yeah.
right,
That's
well.
funny.
I'll
See
see
you
you
later,
guys.
man.
Take
Okay.
care. Okay, Ray,
Hey,
Edo. Have a good day, you guys.
Good to see
Take
you.
care, man. Great
Hey,
to see you.
Two different people, but same love for the alternative investment space and or the investment space at large. Good stuff.
Well, I think, guys, I'm going to play one more clip and then we
Okay.
can move on to Tether. There's been a lot of developments with Tether as far as like the narrative. But this is an interesting clip from the president of China. And here we go, guys. Sorry. All right, here we go. My apologies. I have all this stuff in advance. Excellent. Okay.
The current developments form of the interoperability architecture, all the more pressing. Most countries
I'm pausing it, guys, just to, in case you didn't hear it, but financial infrastructure. There are key words that are being used here that I think people need to, listen carefully and interpret the language correctly based on what we already know and what's been reported by the IMF, by the Bank for International Settlements, and so forth.
It was a little tough for me to hear, Verson. It might be.
Yeah, the quality sucks on this one. Sorry.
Okay.
about that.
Okay. Got it.
Let me just let's see if I can hear anything. I'll just rephrase it.
That'd be super.
fiscal and financial prosperity for multi-activity of our
Connectivity, promoting connectivity. I'm just going to cancel this video, guys. I apologize. But promoting connectivity, and he's talking about interoperability. Yeah. And you know what, guys? I'll put these links in the description for the audience to actually listen to these videos, because I'm telling you, I got some key insight from just listening to these things. This morning, I even listened to the whole BRICS summit, like 2 hours. Very, very fascinating, and pretty much everything we've been discussing here publicly for the last 2-3 years. But yeah, we're not wrong. I think we're just very early on this. As far as the United States dollar, the dollar is getting weaker every day. I know. Listen, just because they lowered interest rates, right, it means they're going to print more money. That's actually going to hurt the dollar more. But in the short term, it's going to strengthen it. But that strengthening of the dollar is what people look at to say, you see, you're wrong. But they're wrong, actually. They don't understand the mechanism behind what it means when you strengthen the dollar and also weaponize it against the citizens of the United States and abroad, and sanctions. you're pushing people away from using the dollar. And let me tell you something else. You and I talked about this on the phone, Ray, and Edo many times, but even myself, I don't like the dollar. It's stealing my purchasing power. It's stealing my savings, my time, my work. If I don't like the dollar and I'm stressed by holding on to this useless asset at this point, imagine what governments are thinking all over the world.
I
Just the
forgot.
thought is provoking.
It's I believe on average it's about we're losing on average 2% purchasing power per year. But I'm thinking it's probably a little bit more, especially right now, is we're seeing $100,000 printed every second, which equates to about $1 trillion every, is it 30 to 90 days? Excuse me. But
Yeah.
regardless, though, it's at a rate that's unsustainable, and it's causing people to flee the dollar and find safety in other assets. May it be metals, may it be private equity, crypto, regardless. So I think that they're being pushed to seek safety in investments which they might not have in the first place or even invested at all. And so I think it's just interesting times that are encouraging behaviors for many, and that's why it's really important for people to take heed from someone like Versan and Ito, because you guys have been in this space for quite some time. You know the ins and outs. You've done your own research to the moon and back, and that's what required. And so, anyways, just thanks for having me on, guys, and being able to learn firsthand from you, because that's really what we're all trying to do.
We're all, everyone in this space, in the crypto community,
Yeah.
we all contribute some value, and that's the beauty of it, right? The community brings the value to the community, right? No one has enough time to do all the research, but at this point, I've spoken to Edo about this many times, and this is why my channel, we tried to go in a different direction after 2022, because I found myself just repeating the same thing over and over and over. Because, and hey, if you look at the facts actually, and what's been strategically revealed over the years, we haven't been wrong. We've been early, and there are some things we still don't understand, right? Like the next one that I've still been called out for being crazy. At one point, I said BRICS would be using XRP. We found the proof. It's out there. It's just a lot of people refuse to acknowledge it, and that's totally up to them. Okay.
Are you going to be sharing? Are you going to be sharing something on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
The next thing that I have not, it's not been proven yet, but it's coming out. You'll see. I promise you guys. Is tokenizing gold with stable coins. Remember that? Oh, it will never be backed by gold in some way, form, or fashion. It technically will be backed by gold, since it's all being tokenized. Physical assets are. So let's hear this last clip, guys, and we'll just get some perspectives from Edo.
So United States bullied Europe to participate in the confiscation of assets of all, some of the relevant people that, with vague links to the Russian regime. And it may make sense maybe from a justice standpoint, but we got to remember that it's not going to encourage people to invest in the system, okay? So transactions are still conducted in US dollars, but we're seeing more and more the storage in gold. I mean, you see it in all places, whether central banks and individuals. People want out of that system. So I'm really afraid of a progressive loss of the role of the dollar in the global transactions.
It's interesting. The dollar fear has been a very real one for many investors, but you've seen dollar supremacy still reign.
I think it reigns transaction-wise, but people conduct not only the transaction in dollars, you exchange dollars, but they don't store it in dollars. And that is what the problem is.
Another interesting clip. Anyways, all right, guys. Well, I'll work on the quality of these videos. I really will. I'm sorry about that to the audience. Okay, I'll make sure that they're better quality and you can hear them next time. Sorry.
Try next time, Versan. Maybe when you play those, given the circumstance of that, if you turn or amend the settings, maybe turn that off because usually I turn them on to improve the audio. Maybe turn them off and you just get the audio raw. That might, I don't know if that has any effect, but
Well, the thing is, see, I work in a very fast-paced environment. What I'm doing is I'm listening to stuff 24/7. And
Yeah.
when I catch something, I have to screen record and
Hmm.
quickly drop it, put it in the Dropbox. And then I even upload it to a platform where I can increase the volume, because the quality is not the same. Another thing, somebody actually, Edo, we got to get your take on this, but somebody said, I don't see how if XRP is helping China to destroy the dollar, hence the title. What I mean by that, again, interpreting language, is if you actually look at how this is playing out, what's happening is that the stage has been set for this technology to be used and adopted. What we see happening in the geopolitical perspective is that they've cornered the United States and they're continuing to corner the US to the new paradigm, to accepting these new paradigms, these new technologies, which are right here at home. A US fintech company like Ripple. It's just then you have to go to the SEC, and that's what the documentary will reveal when everyone goes sees that ETHgate. And we talked about this 2 years ago, guys, the whole ETHgate thing. So
I had the opportunity to interview Chris Giancarlo and ask him the very same thing, Versan and Edo. I said, what are your thoughts? Is indeed the U.S. losing its reign on? Is the dollar losing its reign as a global currency? And he goes, I don't believe so. Even given the circumstances of what we're seeing today and everything, because ultimately, at the same time, we're seeing U.S. Companies like Circle, Ripple that are democratizing the U.S. dollar through the issuance of stablecoins, and I think that we're actually going to see the dollar get stronger over time. Regardless of what we're hearing about, and the reason, if you think about it, if the U.S. was a shepherd or the creator of the internet, and I'd say even some of these DLT new payment rails and solutions, then if those become the standard, then by default that's gonna just reinforce the institutions and the use of the dollar.
I totally agree with you on that. Yeah, it enhances the role of the dollar. But the thing is, the technologies are there and they're just not being used. I mean, what we're talking about is with the SEC, for instance. So, like, you're right about this. The dollar could still be relevant, but it's not the sole dominant currency as far as, okay, transaction wise, I get it. And that's going to take maybe 10, 20 years, right? But the dollar is a reserve currency. Basically, if other countries do not bend the knee to this new global world order that they've been trying to push, then they put sanctions in place. They destroy your economy. It's called economic hitmen. The IMF was created for this reason, by the way. They would send people to your governments, get involved, just like the mafia. They would create financial crises within your country, so your economy fails and collapses, your currencies do. Then the IMF comes in and says, hey, we can fix this, but for you to do that, you have to play by these rules, right? That's what the mafia used to do. So with XRP, though, the dollar will still be there. It'll still be intact, but it allows every country to have a level playing field. Anyone can participate. That's the goal here, sovereignty. Right. So the dollar will still be around. In the past, I said it would get eliminated, but I've talked about this publicly. I learn as I go too. I understand now the dollar's role could evolve. And that's something, where real USD comes into the conversation again. So, Edo, my apologies, man. I'm hijacking the conversation.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Man. I was hearing, and also I like to hear a lot from Ray. I mean, he's the guest, right? Me and Versan are here every week, so we want to take everything we can from your insights. So I like to see it as a macro view, and I do agree that the dollar is not going to disappear, but I think if we're looking from a macro view beyond just a currency war, okay, because we are living somehow a currency war, I would say that the US dominance as, let's say, the leading country that has shaped the future for the past 2 decades, right? So I think the US is no longer going to be that nation that has led the race for freedom, as we learned in the past. And I think there is a very dangerous shift right now. What's happening is that the Chinese model is taking the lead. So it's not only about replacing the US dollar as a world reserve currency, but it's also from the ideals that comes beyond this dominance. In other words, the Chinese model, where they have the central bank digital currencies, and we were discussing this privately just before we enter live, and on how the Chinese model is rapidly spreading to the West. And we have in China, they do have social credits, and you can be sure that the way to implement social credits is 100% interconnected with blockchain technology. So in order to achieve the final goal, and that's exactly what we were talking about, tokenizing water, they tokenizing virtually everything. And in order to accomplish that, they really have to dethrone the US dollar, not to eliminate, but to dethrone as a reserve currency, because you can't have an independent currency, or let's say a sovereign currency, while you're trying to actually level up every country to somehow be the same in a world where they have full control over every single digital transaction that is executed in the world. Just look at what people believed to be Bitcoin, right? Actually, it's quite the opposite. They really think that a lot of people who are invested in Bitcoin still believe this narrative that Bitcoin came to dethrone the banks and Bitcoin came here to actually free us from the government. But that's quite the opposite. They implemented Bitcoin as a way to gain control over digital transactions, so that everyone gets used to transacting everything without cash. And that's where we are moving towards a cashless society. So I would argue that the focus should be a broader perspective, not only as the US dollar as the dominant currency, but actually what they are trying to accomplish by taking down the US dollar as a reserve currency. And I would argue even further. I would say that the process is already completed from many perspectives, because, as you said before, and the stat goes, I live in Europe, so the situation with the euro is identical. We have central banks lowering interest rates, trying to actually not save the economies, but in a short term, because that's only a short term solution for a permanent problem. So the fact that every 3 weeks, I take one comment someone did before, the ultimate proof is that the food is getting so expensive. And it's not only the food, it's just that because we are constantly shopping for groceries, that's the first thing we notice, right? So every time I go in the supermarket, I notice a 3 to 4% increase, let's say every 4 weeks. Every month, there is a 3% increase on the groceries. And that extends itself for the oil prices, and that extends itself for clothes, for everything. So I think something very relevant that happened was Russia being removed from SWIFT. So by the US actually instrumentalizing SWIFT, you have a whole bunch of nations that suddenly wake up, and let's say Brazil, China is they already woke up for that. But let's take Brazil, or let's take India, and they just wake up and they say, well, if the US did that to Russia, I might be the next one, right? So that's all tied to why BRICS are doing what they are doing. And I think the end goal is to really get rid of the Western values that we had for the past 2 or 3 decades, where we had the whole concept of freedom. And unfortunately, we are migrating towards CBDCs that are taking over in every single nation in the world. I think that's the end game, and that's why I like to see it from the macro perspective.
Very good point. And so put this out the other day. That was the currency they were unveiling. It's just I think a nostalgic piece, but I mean, that's a lot of currencies, a lot of countries. You're going to need a massive bridge for that. And I think that's where XRP comes in again, to bridge all these systems together. I saw a very interesting comment here from the Bank for International Settlements. Someone saying that XRP might be considered a tier 1 asset. We've spoke about this in the past, but we didn't mention tier 1. But we know for a fact that the Bank for International Settlements made dollars like a tier 3 asset. So least value, very high risk. Gold was a tier 1 asset. I could certainly see XRP being labeled as a tier 1 or tier 2 asset for sure, because we've spoken that in the past, if you understand like the XRP again, it's like a digital gold. It really is for central banks and financial institutions to move trillions and trillions of value around the world, right? And XLM is a peer-to-peer, really. That's what it's designed to do. You know, it's peer-to-peer banking the unbanked. There's no doubt that the new system is going to be a dual currency payment system. You know?
What are your thoughts on XRP or some of these assets only being available to accredited investors?
Well, if the IMF wants to play games and put some rules into place, I think they could stop people from being able to buy it in the near future. And by the way, if the Bank for International, if this all gets revealed eventually, what we've been talking about, which is not mainstream, by the way, but there's going to be a sudden supply shock. And it could certainly make it almost impossible to afford or to even be able to access it. So, you know, I don't know how they would do it, but they certainly could put laws into place, maybe, you know, illegally, of course, unconstitutionally, like they've been doing. I mean, what the SEC did to Ripple and XRP is unconstitutional. It really is. It's unlawful. I mean, it's illegal what they've been doing. So
it's also poking the holes at the current current financial or incumbency, the framework for the incumbents. And so, I mean, it's like a good and bad thing at the same time. Yes, it's bad what the SEC has done to Ripple, but now pokes holes at the current system in place. And so I think it's necessary. And
right,
you know, to your point about USD or our dollars being backed not by faith or credit, but by assets, gold or commodities, I think that's where we're going, and we're going to need, as mentioned, some type of technological system or ledger to account for not just these digital transactions, but then also the value that the collateral that backs it as well.
Absolutely. And that's where the World Gold Council comes into this. They've publicly, I have the video on the X where they came out in 2023 and they were saying, we're looking for somebody that can build a stable coin. We haven't found one yet. Then the next year, 2024, you see real USD come out. They're already talking about real yen. So I believe that more stable coins issued on the XRP ledger and the Stellar network are going to eventually come out in time. So this hasn't happened yet. It will happen though. And you're going to see the World Gold Council, the Bank for International Settlements take more of a public role in this instead of behind the scenes and bridging stable coins with physical assets, gold, silver, etc.
On the other side of the fence, we're seeing USDC or Circle working to help create or formulate the MiCA regulations. I mean, they are essentially one of the pioneers for it. So, and to that point is USDC, or let me take a step back. What I noticed early on in my investing journey, I made my way to Link2's platform as a customer. And during some of those transactions, I fat fingered a transaction and purchased a portfolio company on their platform more than I intended to. And so I reached out to their customer service and I used XRP to fund that transaction on their platform. So here during this whole SEC trial earlier on, this is 2022, where they're saying XRP is not a security, but here we were able to fund some of these transactions using XRP thanks to the relationship between Link2 and Uphold, which I'm actually driving out after this call to go have to attend a private dinner between Uphold and Ripple around Money 2020 in Vegas. But regardless, back to my story, when I fat fingered that transaction on Link2's platform using the XRP in my Uphold wallet, I didn't, when they refunded me back my money, thankfully, or that value, but they didn't refund it back in XRP. They refunded me back in USDC. And I thought that was, for me, that signaled at least if they are to be compliant, what assets or rails are they going to need to work with?
The rails.
Rails.
That's the key word to this.
Yes.
If I may interrupt you for a second. So our friend David has just joined us. I'm going to bring him onto the call.
Perfect.
And we're going to move into stable coins and Tether specifically.
Perfect.
All right.
Sorry, I don't mean to jump the gun, guys.
No, you're great. Don't worry about it, man. We're a family here.
Finally, I
I'm
made
glad
it.
they didn't refund you in USDT, Ray.
Your coffee chat, huh? How'd
Oh
that
my
go?
gosh. Oh, well, it's the same coffee, but
Different
I feel
chat.
like he just walks around with that cup all day, huh?
Yeah.
that's right. Hey Ray,
Hey.
I've been pumping this, telling people, hey, we're gonna have a special guest, and I'm glad you're in on it. I'm glad to see you, man.
Hey, it's great to be seen, Dave, and great, even better to be seen by you, sir. It's always a pleasure brushing elbows in the IRL and digitally with you, sir.
All right. Well,
thank
listen,
you,
guys.
man. Thank you so much.
We're gonna have to certainly do this again. Hopefully, Vendel can be with us next time. Let's discuss Tether real quick, and like to get everyone's take on this. But there have been some recent developments as far as Tether losing its peg again. I mean, this catches the whole market. And see, we've been openly talking about the revolving door between Tether, the bond market, and Bitcoin and the US government. More and more information is coming out. I know there was a false article that was released the other day. But it's funny because the Wall Street Journal, which is a very big media outlet, released this information, and then they were told to pull it down. Isn't that crazy? But the funny thing is, basically, if you're investigating Tether, it would mean basically that the government, the DOJ, or the was it DOJ? I believe so. Yeah, was investigating itself, basically, because the largest holder of bonds is Tether, and it's crazy because other countries around the world are continuously offloading their debt, offloading their treasuries, their dollars. Well, if someone's offloading them, somebody has to be buying them. And the question is, like, who's buying them? Well,
Right.
Tether is the largest buyer of US bonds. So I think it's very interesting. And every time Tether starts to print more money, Bitcoin goes up.
Yeah.
It's something there, guys, right? So let's go ahead and start with David, and we'll move to Ray and then Edo.
Well, I kind of take like Brad Garlinghouse's approach in this respect is that, Tether will probably be around, but I do think it's going to have a diminishing market share. I mean, we know that it's not able to comply with all the MiCA rules in the EU. So a lot of platforms in the EU are delisting, Tether as a stable coin in terms of trading pairs. I think that's absolutely going to have an impact. Whether or not Tether can actually survive a forensic audit, I guess, we've had all kinds of speculation. There does seem to be this unique parallel that whenever you see Tether being minted and printed and all this kind of stuff, that the price of Bitcoin just miraculously goes up. And it seems there is this revolving door between Tether and Bitcoin. Now, that might go way back to the origins of both, which I do think are, fairly dubious in terms of like where the origins of both of these, entities come from, in terms of like, Satoshi Nakamoto being anonymous. All of a sudden, Tether's on the scene with such a massive pot. Hard to even fathom when you consider you go down and you look at the, if you go to the headquarters of where Tether is, it's like the smallest little jankiest office that there is, and yet it's worth multiple billions upon billions. It just seems something is completely off. But either way, I do see that RLUSD is going to fill a big gap. And I think they are gunning for a lot of Tether's market share. That's kind of how I look at it for sure.
Great point, Ray.
Having spoke to Jack McDonald, the VP of Ripple's stablecoin division at Swell briefly, it was at the Faena when everyone was picking up their badges in preparation for Ripple Swell. So I pounced on Jack when I had the opportunity, and I asked him. I said, "Hey, what's status on RLUSD? Throw a dog a bone here, Jack." And he goes, "Ray, anytime. I mean, we're all just waiting for regulations, and that's it." And there was a article that even Circle had sent out or published yesterday, and it was basically to reinvigorate the awareness that they're ready to go public any moment. And so, and I think that that could set the stage for a huge IPO window revolving around stablecoin issuers or those that are leaning into the space, the Circles, the Ripples, others as well. And so the consensus, but that's to be determined, and we'll see. But as I hinted towards, I think players like USDC, RLUSD are going to play a significant role within certain jurisdictions, particularly here in the US. We'll see maybe like a Tether remain for outside those jurisdictions. But I mean, that's what I think the Mika regs and the stablecoin regs will all define once they're in force.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if Tether goes down, that's going to be an inside job, right? In the same way that FTX was 100% an inside job. Well, I do have evidences, and unfortunately, I can't give names here. But I came across, and I have to choose my words carefully. So I came across some documents that really led me to believe that Tether is not going to be around for that long as we think. And my only question in regards to how this is going to actually play out. Is this going to be a massive black swan event, or is going to be a gradual transition where real stablecoin and USDC are just, let's say, month by month, or actually every few days the transaction is going to, let's say, the liquidity is going to flow from Tether to real stablecoin. And I think USDC is also a massive player that's MiCA compliant. So in regards to Tether, someone brings in the comments page 10 of Tether white paper, which we already show here. I'm not sure if you have seen that, Ray, but they clearly stating on Tether's white paper that they could actually abscond with the customers' funds and they could disappear basically at any moment. That's explicit written on Tether white paper. And we all know that CTFC has already fined Tether in, I think it was over $30 million because they were lying about the USD reserve. So it's 100% not backed one-to-one to the US dollar. And I think Tether is not going to be around for that long. That's my thoughts on that.
You guys are all spot on. See, this is the best family I could ever ask for. I wish Vindel was here. But the good news is that more people move away from USDT. Hence to what you said, Edo, you're going to start to see all this money, and we're talking about trillions, right? Move into stable coins that are issued by Stellar and things like Ripple, right? That are working with regulators, working with governments, right? So that is really what's going to help evolve the dollar to what you said earlier, Ray. And as far as a black swan event, the biggest black swan event we could see, there's two of them. There are multiple actually, but two that are really in my sight is number one, the banking crisis as far as the real estate market. That's something we're not talking about today. Next week, we'll talk about it because it's the next big topic you're going to see in the mainstream. I'm telling you in advance. The second thing is the Tether stablecoin. If you want to see a real black swan event, if that peg collapses anymore, or we have some real issues like that, regulatory issues, and they're going to do it like an inside job, it will completely collapse the whole 26, 27,000 cryptos out there. It will collapse the whole market, and that will cascade into traditional financial systems, which will translate into more bank failures, et cetera, et cetera. Problem, reaction, solution. And then there are solutions out there that are already ready to go, and Ripple stablecoins are one of them. If you look at the articles that came out a few weeks ago, I posted on X, you look at the emerging economies, that's the BRICS nations, right? The emerging economies, they are turning to stable coins to stabilize their economies, their currencies. And I mean, that's all right there for people to understand. It's incredible, man. So
if I could make one comment that's just burning, I had the opportunity, from my former employment to have access to interesting conversations, and one of them was I asked an individual, I'm not going to give out any names, but someone that's very well known in the space, and I asked him, I said, what are your thoughts on Tether if they do, like you mentioned, lose the peg and the confidence, and we see a collapse in not just them but then Bitcoin? And he goes, I mean, that's what's going to happen. It's going to be a tactical demolition, and those were the key words. And so that echoes Edo's and your guys's perspective as where this is going to be. This is a cooperative
Right.
move, I guess you could say.
I want everyone to see this, guys. I'm putting it on display here. I covered this. I wish it got more attention. Only 121 retweets. Damn. This should have had a few thousand. You know, I'm telling you guys.
I usually
this is
just
the
get that many likes.
The most important thing is understanding. I don't know, man. Look at this. Emerging markets embrace stablecoins despite significant premiums, right? Stablecoins have become essential for financial transactions, especially in regions. Okay. So if you look here, I even put it, even emerging markets are turning into financial technologies like XRP and XLM for stability as fiat currencies become unstable, indicating that these technologies are the key to stabilizing the economy in the future. And even last year, we saw a 50% surge in stablecoins.
Yeah.
So I like what you said, Ray. This is 100% inside job. They are profiting as much as they can from us. And what they're going to do is collapse it when they're ready and have that new system ready to go.
Yeah.
See, 90% of the crypto market is all distraction. It really is. And that's why you got Bloomberg, you got MSNBC, Fox Business, you got all these guys putting so much money, like Mark Moss, Michael freaking Saylor, who, by the way, was a coke addict from 2001, lost billions of dollars in the .com thing. You think he's not going to make the same mistake again? Probably. You know, it's not an accident, guys. I'm telling you, history is repeating itself, and the rich are going to get richer. The poor, there will be a predetermined solution.
Well, as a reinforcement just to that point, back in the late 80s, early 90s, the banking system globally could survive absolutely zero problem without the utilization of the internet. Well, now if you had even one day of total blackout, it's trillions of dollars of lost value. They become so reliant and dependent on it. And as we know, in terms of like actual physical cash, it's 5% or less for amounts that are on deposit. So this new transition that they're getting, and you're seeing the adoption of stablecoins, and stablecoin legislation has been pushed out by the BIS, the IMF, European Central Bank. All of them are pushing for this because you're absolutely right. Stablecoins, if you're seeing these major institutions getting into the utilization of stablecoins, how much longer is it going to be, do you think, that the whole financial infrastructure is going to be dependent upon the utilization of these stablecoins? So if we saw an unraveling, and this is where it's a double-edged sword, because I kind of think, they could allow a black swan where Tether literally implodes and liquidate, all kinds of, I think retail would be shaken so out, it's not even funny. And then, swoop in and bring in the change. Or they could literally allow the transition for it to slowly be diminished in terms of utilization, where it is absorbed by RLUSD, by USDC, and maybe RL, like you say, Verson, heard you say this, RL yen, RL this and that, all other, stable coins pegged to other fiat currencies, and allow that as a bridge, because, it depends how catastrophic they are wanting it to fall. This whole last go around, come on. I mean, we all know that was literally an engineered situation, because you cannot have a bull market, a secular bull market to the degree that we experience when you have every major industry on earth practically come to a screeching halt in manufacturing, in the shipment of goods, in services and everything, and yet have one of the biggest secular bull runs the world has ever seen. Well, that's central bank driven.
Yes.
So this is where I kind of think, hey, down the line, we don't know, but I honestly do believe that the system is now becoming dependent upon these things. And from the average person's perspective, yes, in this space, we're aware. How many people are really aware of the whole, stablecoin market? Not that darn many, that's for sure.
Well, it's funny. Can I put a final thought, and I'll let you guys speak? Is that I put a tweet out in 2022, and I said, interesting, this is a document from the World Bank. That's when Mindell and I shared this, and it said in their XRP and XLM, and I remember saying, should we talk about this? We didn't hear anything on stable coins for like 2 years. It's crazy. And now it's all just kind of coming out. This is part of that same document. I'll put a tweet out here. If you read through the whole thing, and I've read it like 3 times, guys, I get so bored. I have to sometimes read things, and it's like watching a movie again. How many times have you had to watch The Matrix to understand? And every time you watch it again, you're like, huh, I didn't notice that, right? This same thing with the document. Now, the World Bank inside the document, after talking about XRP and XLM as stablecoins, it put this out. Conclusion: it takes 2 to tango. And that's really where I formulated the whole theory on a dual currency system, which has also been spoken about in the past before. So I don't want to take credit on that. But it's very interesting how this dual currency system is actually going to be the very foundation for the new system. And everything seems to be built upon those rails or interoperable with. And that's what Edo was saying earlier. There's going to be a few blockchains, right? It's more than 1 or 2. And I've come to the same conclusion as you have, Edo.
And I already explained. I got that. Yeah, I got that the multiple blockchains from a presentation that was made for the bankers. They actually made that in Italy, and you can guess which blockchain was at the center of the presentation, right? The XRP ledger as one of the thriving blockchains that would be around 5 years from now. And the presentation took place in like 2020. So I think the timeline is actually very accurate. And we are heading towards, I love what you shared, Versan. It takes 2 to tango. And the only thing that comes to my mind is XRP and XLM. I always say that for me, I do think we're going to have a multitude of currencies and blockchains, but I think you do going to have the main ones. And for me, those rails are going to be Stellar and Ripple. I do think that there is no other choices, as that's why my 2 main holdings are always XRP and XLM.
And meme coins. I'm just kidding.
Don't,
Listen, I know everyone's on that meme coin
go there,
hype.
Versan.
There you go.
We're not talking about meme coins, guys. And yeah, that was something else.
He's not just buying them; he's creating them.
Listen, I'm gonna make something very clear because I got my audience listening too.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not creating anymore, and I was trying to experiment and learn about it to to also be able to say like, hey, I created my own crypto. I wanted to experience it. I didn't realize, but when I saw the numbers in there, I really had restraint, which is, I think, something that most of us should have in this space. I had restraint to not sell my position, and I was holding the largest position. So I promised everybody I'd be the exit liquidity. And I would take the loss at this point, because I realized how much responsibility was in there. And I didn't even have the motive to hit that sell button because I knew what I would be doing. You see what I mean, guys? I'd be dumping on the market. And I realized, wow, I wish I never did this, but I still shared it with people. But I didn't tell anyone to go invest in it, but some people did. I just want people to know that I'm still holding that bag. And I'm encouraging you guys to get out while you can and take the profits. I'm not going to touch it. I'll take the loss on it. I have so much XRP. I'm not even concerned about losing 1,000 XRP. It's okay. So I want to put that out there, guys.
To your
not
point
again.
And and that I completely appreciate that perspective that you have, because being in that position and you realize, when you're sitting on a position like that and how you could really harm people in a big way. And this is where I feel like the Ethereum founders literally had absolutely no conscience whatsoever, because there's no limit to the amount of Ethereum that can be minted. We don't even know how many these whales actually had, and in the very beginning, how much they bought into it. And we've watched certain situations where we know for a fact that there's been absolute dumping on the market, and yet they turn around, they'll point fingers, at Ripple holding such a large escrow. But Ripple has been very conscientious about how they actually, move that out. Every month they unlock a big percentage. That's true. But 80 to 90% of that gets locked back up in escrow.
Yeah. Real fast.
And they have not, this whole FUD that comes out, they just dump on retail. That is hogwash. They have not sold any XRP to the retail market since 2019, right? And
quite the opposite. Ripple are the greatest XRP buyers.
Yes,
on the open
exactly,
market.
Edo. They're the greatest buyers. Yep. Great
And
point.
we
great
we
point.
covered the escrow quite a while ago. In fact, Edo and I did a podcast together on the escrow, and it did very well. That means I'm happy the message
Yeah.
got out there. But Ripple dumping escrow on the market is not designed to short the market, to dilute it in any way. It's really designed to foster more inclusion, liquidity, to widen the acceptance and adoption of the technology. And as Ripple continues to get these partnerships, working with regulators, governments, you're going to see more investor money just move into these things, and you're going to need that escrow. And I always also thought that the escrow was to a degree allocated for the central banks. Who knows?
Well, we got 1,700 NDAs that we do know about that was disclosed, in the lawsuit. Now we don't know who all the NDAs are with, but we know there's 1,700 of them. My guess is that some of those 1,700 NDAs hold some of that escrow position. That's my guess.
Yeah, it's very possible. Yeah.
Interesting number, 1,700.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We should add a 76 to the end of that. Mel Carmine would lose his ever loving money.
Oh God!
If there were 1,776 of them.
Oh my
Did someone
God!
say Mel Carmine?
And he's a great guy. He's a great guy. I like Mel a lot.
Yeah, I
Actually,
had
he's
fun
a
with
great
Mel
guy.
too, man.
Yeah, he is a great guy.
Someone said, "Fix my hair, Vandal." I'm not. Oh,
I wish I had hair to fix.
like,
Are
I'm
you
just
kidding me?
not
Look at this,
ready.
prick.
Anyways, well, I'll let him know. Okay, thank you for that, Michael.
Yeah,
I
that's the
appreciate
most
it.
important thing
Thank
on
you,
this
Michael.
podcast right now.
Yeah, I know. Like, I'm not even joking. When we do when I'll do an interview with when I did one with Martin, when I did one with Gary Cardone, and I remember trying to really ask questions here. But my hair was kind of messed up too. And someone made a comment there. I said, "What are your priorities?" That's the only thing I responded, right?
It was great seeing Gary Cardone at the Trump rally on stage at Coachella. So to hear that you had him on your show is very exciting and encouraging those in the audience. I read an interesting post from Patrick Bet David yesterday. He posted a tweet stating that that new podcasters are essentially setting the bar for potentially the new political landscape. And
Yes.
I thought that was very interesting comment, and to see the similarities or the comparables or in the same ideologies and people that are in leading this X spaces or leading these YouTube channels to now be at these rallies or to have a microphone and a chance to speak, I think it just makes sense. And so
And I put out, I called Edo yesterday. We've been doing a lot of phone calls, so I really appreciate that, Edo. He's a great guy. Edo and I were talking. I said, Edo, it's really incredible how just memes destroyed mainstream media.
Memes.
It's funny. Yeah, memes, right? It's funny. The global narrative is collapsing because of a picture with a bear on it, for instance.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Well, guys, we are at an hour. I think, there's one more thing maybe we didn't get to talk about, but I think we're going to see the return to cheap money in the short term. You guys know what I mean? Like they already cut interest rates.
Yep.
And typically when they cut interest rates, it's going to result in more rate cuts again. So I think that's the direction we're going. November, I believe that they're going to cut rates again. But I think we are going back to zero rates again. It's very possible because remember, we have an economy that thrives on cheap money. So as a result of that, you're going to see them need to print more of that cheap money and prop up the markets. But the thing is, like, I had a client ask me the other day, like, Versan, I have money in a 401k and I have money in the S&P. She was asking me if I should remove it. And I don't like giving financial advice like that, because that's somebody else's wealth, right? But I was telling her that because they cut rates and they're going to print more money, they're certainly going to prop up the market. But as a result of printing more money, you're going to see higher inflation. So by the time your markets move up, right, and the rate of inflation, you're right where you started.
Yeah. It's like skating on ice that's just getting thinner and thinner and thinner.
Yeah.
Eventually, the ice is not going to support the people on top of it, and I think that's what we all know.
It's the same to think like Bitcoin now is near to the all-time high, right? But if we compare that to 4 years ago, is it really a new all-time high considering inflation?
No,
Yeah, good
That's a
point.
good
very
question,
good
right?
point.
Good
Very
point.
good point.
Very good point. Yep,
You're stuck
that's
where you
great.
got.
Like
Right.
it.
Yeah. So, I think it's just, and I put a tweet out about this the other day. It's equally important for everybody to, I understand there's a lot of potential in the investment of the digital infrastructure, but you want to be positioned outside the system too. I talk to David about this all the time, and Edo. I'm very fearful of technology, to be honest. Okay. I understand the potentials, the pros and cons. You can sugarcoat it all you want. David knows where I stand on this, and so does Edo. Ray, I am afraid of technology. It scares the hell out of me. AI systems, artificial intelligence. It's nothing funny. It really isn't. But with digital systems taking over the financial infrastructure, the gateway of our future is going to be blockchain, AI, and quantum computing. That's the gateway to the future of where this is all going. So I just think it's equally important to be positioned outside the system, physical assets. So gold, you guys saw it made another all-time high, and it's going to only go up from here. It's crazy. There are some people out there who actually think that gold is going to be worthless. Can you believe that? What a stupid thing to say.
It's
And
never
even-
been worthless.
Yeah,
Never
it's
will be
never. It
worthless.
stands the test of time. Anyways,
They're
so-
probably Tether investors. I'm kidding, but if I can close with one thought, it was to your point where we're not providing financial advice, but I was actually somebody who did liquidate my 401k. I did do that in 2020, right, due to the COVID Care Act, where we were able to do so up to 100,000 without getting penalized, and because of that situation, or because everybody in the world or in the US was affected by COVID in some capacity. Basically, everybody could have engaged with that I don't want to call it a loophole, but just say opportunity. And I did take that risk and liquidate my 401k. But by that time, I had already invested in Bitcoin. I was moving asset from various cold storage wallet to various cold storage wallets. So I was seeing how long those transactions took place, and I'm like, this is not scalable solution. What's next? And then I started playing with XRP, ADA, a whole bunch of different ones, XLM, and seeing that those had a potential for providing a solution for mass adoption, for scaling, for payments. And so then by that time I did roll my investment into XRP, and we're seeing this whole cycle happen again. We're going into a potential bull run. We're seeing Bitcoin potentially go into a new all-time high. We're seeing meme coins come back. This meme craze, maybe that's a distraction. Maybe that's what really bring another monkey pod to bring to grasp a new younger demographic. Who knows? But regardless, it's onboarding somebody's liquidity for good or right reasons. Who knows? To be determined. But regardless, though, we're seeing all that happen once again, or at least that's what I'm seeing. And so, and right at that time when we saw that all-time high with Bitcoin, we saw Coinbase IPO at the very all-time high. So maybe we might see another blockchain company do the exact same thing, or multiple. Who knows? Now that we have the ETFs in place, and so being somebody who did liquidate my 401k and take that risk, it did work out for me, but that was also, this is a completely different landscape, completely different times. There wasn't a COVID Care Act loophole in place, so I don't know if the same possibilities or circumstances are, it's not really apples to apples. But as somebody, I did take that risk, and it's only and by doing my homework and research, it's only been it was a good decision. Yeah, but that again,
happy to hear that. Yes.
for me.
Well, it
Yeah.
is a great decision. I think most people need to really consider it. Look at the way things are going. The middle class is, it's something we used to talk about a lot. It's just that they're getting systematically wiped out, and that's not an accident.
Absolutely. I mean, think about it. If your 401k is just returning maybe if 4%, maybe 8% for that given year, call that a high. But but when your money's getting printed at the same rate, or your inflation is increasing at that same rate, then you're back to where you started. And so for when my parents own the condo next to me, and the first tenant in there, he had about 5,000 Bitcoin, and then he had all the beautiful Rolls Royce, beautiful Jaguar, all kinds of Rolexes, and I asked him, I said, why am I, while he's smoking his exotic Cuban cigar in the backyard, I said, hey, why am I investing in my 401k? And as he's watching somebody on YouTube or Twitter or whatever, he was fully off the grid by that time as well, and so he just takes his eye off his phone and looks at me, cigar in his mouth still, and just all he did was just shrug, like, I don't know, dude, that's your call. But I don't know why you're investing in it, basically. And so here we are. We're coming to this crossroads again. Yeah.
Yeah. Very good point.
It's true.
Well, guys, I know
So did you throw this up, Edo, or did you throw this up?
I'm always throwing everything up, and I just want people to be able to see this stuff and read it while we're having the discussion, really.
Well,
and I promised I'll work on the videos next time, so I apologize to the community for that.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to piggyback on what Ray was saying there, because I do believe, look, even last go around with all the scrutiny that XRP was under, it did a 1,200% move. I mean, that is, you're never going to see that in a traditional market. And that was in a 4-month period from the low of 17.48 cents to $1.97. And nobody knew where the whole decision with the whole case was going to go. Delist it from every U.S. exchange, save uphold, and stuff like that. And yet to see a return like that in and of itself was life-changing enough. And so if we even just saw, a 12x return, in this market from, these numbers that we see today, you're still looking at what, a $6-7 XRP? Is a $10 XRP that difficult to fathom? I don't really think so. Not when you look at what's coming down the road. Now, obviously there's speculation involved in every investment. There's a measure of speculation. Otherwise, if you were guaranteed, there'd be no risk, right? So, I mean, of course, there's going to be some measure of that. But the fundamentals alone are just screaming like I don't know how people can genuinely deny what's literally happening behind the scenes in the infrastructure for the financial system that we see coming. It's literally right in front of our face. Like Edo says, I mean, you look at XRP and XLM, I have never seen startups in my life that had the interconnected, relationships with some of these international monetary organizations like these two have had. None.
Yeah. No. But to your point where he said the back to that slide 2 to Tango and Edo, your comment on the XRP XLM, I mean, they're sister chains. And so it's in a way, it's like, if you're going to have take 2 to Tango, duplicate the same tech and see how we can bounce that data and information and progress between each other. And so I thought it was it's a beautiful story. And I think it makes perfect sense. And the way that they burned the reserves for XLM to burn the reserves, I think was a great test to see, okay, what's the benefits, the pros and cons to do so, because it was at a time when everyone was like, XRP needs to burn its reserves and yada, yada, yada. And it was, so anyways, to see XLM actually do that and complete that exercise and having no effect on the overall
minimal
price. So anyways, I think it was just great to see that take place. Now, how this all unveils is exciting and to be determined. Yeah.
Yep. No, for sure. I agree with that, Ray.
Well, I think we covered quite a bit. Edo, do you have any thoughts, or what did I miss?
You missed the best part. You missed.
We have about 5,000 people live, so just want to send a special
thank you,
thanks
guys. Thank
to
you.
the audience.
Someone's asking,
Someone
where can you buy
asked a
IMF
question.
coin?
I just want to very briefly
Don't buy
answer.
IMF coin, okay?
They asked
I'm telling you
if
now, guys,
XDC.
I'm serious. Yeah. Someone's asking where to buy IMF coin.
Someone asked about XDC.
Yeah. Zinpin's big, man. I think
a lot of these technologies.
I think there's a more relevant question. It's about XDC.
Aliens or demons? Oh my god!
And just answering, yes, XDC has smart contracts. In my opinion, XDC will be the Ethereum killer. So,
I think XDC has great potential. I mean, remember this, it's a not-for-profit blockchain type of thing, and most of their clients are all government. You know, and for XDC, and for those who don't know, it just stands for XinFin Digital Contract. Well, you need to look into XinFin and, you know, where they've come from, all that kind of stuff. I mean, XDC right now is what, 2 pennies or something like that. What is most mesmerizing is you really can't gauge the potential in this space in a realistic way like you can in traditional markets. I watch some of these things literally be less than half a penny go to over 25 cents. Some of them, like, you know, and that was VeChain. Cardano was like what, 3 and 4 cents when I first picked it up. It went to over $3. I had 10,000% return. I mean, and Ray, you were there to see that. You saw Cardano do that. I mean, it is just mesmerizing to me that people will say, "Oh, well, that's just impossible." Really, you don't understand the global money supply if you're saying that.
Well,
You know, and how money moves.
Real quick, guys, as far as investing in some of these technologies, the community who's been with us for a long time, we've talked in some way, form, or fashion about each of these technologies, right?
Yeah.
But you have to understand, when you're investing in these technologies, you're investing in the technologies that are going to be implemented behind the very same
Later on.
disruptions, the disruptions that you see, potential disruptions in the economy,
Yeah.
like supply chains, smart contracts. You see these things taking hold. So,
Yeah.
you want to be diversified.
I had the opportunity of interviewing the CEO Sunil Senapati for the XDC Trade Network, and they're building on XDC and partnering with Crador. Those were the first the people that tokenized the bill of lading on the XDC network. But and I believe it was about only a $45,000 transaction, but regardless, the first successful one of many. And but what I thought was, to your point about the whole standardization of protocols, that's exactly what I mean. We're talking about here is just using leveraging software solutions to optimize standards or protocols for a greater purpose within a business, for a business need or enterprise need. And that's what so the on XDC Trade Network and Credor, what they're doing is tokenizing trade documents within the framework. It's called M-Letter. M-Letter is basically like the acronym for the standardization of how they send those trade documents back and forth from one party to the next. And so, and here we are with XRP being a transmission or a bridge, a vehicle, a rail for financial institutions to send data or value back and forth between one another through the ISO protocol or standardization. And so where we're getting at is moving towards a world that's underpinned by software solutions, protocols, but within standards or within rules or swim lanes, practices that are implemented by or governed by large government organizations and agencies. And so it's not really much deeper than that.
Yeah,
I mean, you're talking interledger protocol. That's what it is right there.
Yeah. Also, people need to check out Velo. Velo is a very interesting one. Velo is a platform for the issuance of debt and credit. And the global economy is based on borrowing and lending, debt and credit, right? What's interesting is built on the Stellar network and the credit, debt and credit issuance of XLM holders, potentially. So I find that to be a revolutionary technology to where XLM is going, being a peer-to-peer transaction payment system. Anyways, people can do their research on it. We put it out there so many times. SHX as well. SHX is a good one. And by the way, just a lot of people have asked me, you could store it on your Descent wallet. Now, what you need to do is build a trust line, which will cost you 1 XLM token to build that trust line on the Descent wallet on the Stellar network to connect your SHX and your Velo and store it there.
Very cool.
Okay.
Love Descent.
Yeah. Well, guys, I think we covered a lot of information here. Ray, it's been an absolute pleasure. We got to have you on again.
Yeah, please.
You're one of us, huh?
Yeah, you're definitely one of us.
Well, we're one of you. How about that?
Birds of a feather flock together. Right?
There you go. Right. Hopefully we're flying in the right direction.
Yeah. And I want to thank everyone for the birthday wishes. I saw so many nice comments on
Oh, that's great.
my YouTube channel. So thank you for that.
Very nice.
And thank you guys too.
Yeah. Did you get that XRP community hat yet?
Yeah.
No,
No.
but it'll come in. You know,
On its way. On its way.
I actually have a video of it's on my desktop. They played a song at the club, right? My friends took me to the club, and it was the "Pump It Up" song.
Oh, no way.
And you know me, when I go out in public, I'll usually just stand there and be cool, right? But when they played that song, I lost my mind. I actually started jumping around. I was like, you can hear me screaming in the video. I'm like, woo, pump it up.
You
And-
didn't pull out your phone and buy more XRP right there?
No, you know, but it was really fun. So I had a good time. Anyways, thank you guys.
Yeah. As a closing thing, if I can throw this out there, a lot of us are going to be down there, and there's a bunch of these locations, but XRP Unleashed is coming out. I think that's a big, big thing for this community, the story of XRP. And, you know, if you're able to get out to some of these locations, you should try and do it. I know Houston is sold out completely. I think the same thing for LA, Scottsdale, but there's different places around. And, you know, it's one of these things that, you know, the great thing about it, you're not just going there to watch a movie, you're actually going out there to, you know, meet different people that are, you know, in the documentary, the producers of the documentary. Versan and myself are going to be at the one in Houston and stuff like that. You're going to have opportunity to meet up with folks that are in this space. And, you know, I always say, like, you know, Versan was up here one time and we were visiting, we were out to have having dinner. And, you know, this gentleman came up and he introduced himself to us, you know, and stuff like that. And we always kind of say, hey, look, you know, we're in this space. And if you see us and we're out and about, like, feel free to just come up and say hello and introduce yourself and stuff like that. Because, you know, I always love to say, look, we create the content, but it's you guys out there, the 5,000 people watching this stream that create the community. And we really actually are doing this because of the interest in and you guys that are out there. And so if you're able to get out to some of these things and meet up with us, love to see you there. That's what I would say.
Same thing. Yeah. You know, we're very friendly people too.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah.
Anyone going to be in
actually,
LA? LA, anyone?
Anyone going to be in LA?
No, not going to be in LA this year.
Okay.
No, not that.
Okay.
I think DAI is going to LA. I think he's going
Can't go
to
to
a
LA.
bunch of different ones, you know. But
You guys got to come out to Texas. All right. I
yeah,
can't go to
Texas is
LA.
where
I've
it's
seen
at,
too
man.
much.
Yeah,
Too much. It's too liberal.
Yeah, there's so many people in this space that are in Texas, man. It's like, wow, I didn't realize it, but there's a lot, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll be seeing you in Houston. I'm looking forward to it too.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's gonna be fantastic.
Yeah.
That's gonna be fantastic.
Well, thank you guys.
That's all for
I'm
me,
also
guys.
seeing
That's all for me.
comments in here. All right. But thanks again. Birthday wishes in here too. That's awesome. new comments. But all right, guys. Yeah, I got things to do. I know you guys do too. Okay. So this was a great conversation. Thank you guys, and we appreciate all the support. Please be sure to follow our work and share this video.
Yeah. Edo, final words.
Feel like I'm taking a picture.
Thank you,
here.
everyone. We have over 5,000 people, so great number. And Ray, looking forward to have you again on the show. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Edo. It's been an absolute pleasure for me. Great to finally meet you as well.
All right, guys. Well, that's
Okay.
it. Hey, take care, everyone. Have a wonderful day.
Yeah, fine.
Love you mucho. See ya.